This regular meeting of the Detroit Lake City Council is called to order, and at this time, I'd like to invite all of you to please rise and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda tonight is approval of the regular agenda as presented, and I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the regular agenda. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. The consent agenda is before the council. All items with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered separately in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there any items that any of the council members or citizens wish to either remove or add to the consent agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to have item 11B removed from the consent agenda and move to the regular agenda, and I'd like to recuse myself from discussion and from voting.
Okay, was there any other items? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of item 11B.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. The minutes of the regular city council meeting held December 9th, 2025, and the annual city council meeting held January 6th, 2026 are before the council. Is there anyone in the audience or any member of the council that wishes to make any changes to those minutes? If not, I would entertain a motion for their approval.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the regular council meeting held December 9th and the annual city council meeting held January 6th. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Without objection, I'm going to move to the item 4B, and at this time, I'll adjourn the regular meeting and call to order a public hearing to receive public comments on Rossman Avenue Street and utility improvements. And to introduce this, I'm going to call on our city engineer, John Pratt.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening, we've got a public or an improvement hearing for the proposed Rossman Avenue Utility and Street Reconstruction Project. Pretty usual business here when we have a project that will potentially involve special assessments. We have a public hearing just to review the project, provide information to residents, take questions, provide an opportunity for some input, and it's also a state statute requirement when we're using special assessments. So we'll go over the project need, what's out there, what we're planning to do, and then get into the costs, the funding, special assessments, and what the project schedule looks like. And there'll be a period for question and answers after the presentation. So this evening, we're talking about a relatively short portion of Rossman Avenue. The segment is from Willow Street to Reynolds Street. This project admittedly did sort of crop up probably a little bit quicker than most of our projects. Kind of came to light here this past summer. We've been dealing with some water main breaks on that section and have discovered that we have some pretty severely deteriorated ductile iron fittings on that water main causing those breaks. Subsequent to that, we added it to the capital improvement plan, which was adopted here earlier this fall. And then the council authorized the prep of the engineering, the preliminary engineering report, and you adopted that at the December meeting. So that brings us to this evening. Assuming the project moves ahead, we would finish up design over the course of the next month or two and move into construction in the summer of 2026. As far as existing conditions related to the sewer mains are kind of a mixture of PVC and VCP, or vitrified clay tile pipe. Ages, best we can tell, range from anywhere from about 50 years to maybe over 70 years old, with that VCP pipe being the oldest. The VCP, based on televising, is in very poor condition. The PVC is in fair condition, but it does have some sags and a rolled gasket and some other things, so it's certainly not perfect, and it's up there in age. The water main, we believe that was installed prior to the 1950s. That consists of a 12-inch cast iron pipe. It is a very important water main within our distribution system, just simply because of its position between the water treatment plant and the water tower. Like I said, we've had some breaks related to bolt failures on the flanges. You can see some pictures there. The top ones are ones we actually pulled out of the field. From those breaks, the bottom one is what they should look like, and that's actually off of a segment of water main further north on Rossman. So that's the issue that we're dealing with, and one of the big drivers of the project. So the other factor that kind of expedited this project is with the new water tower going online sometime next year. That tower will create about an additional 10 psi of pressure within our system. So now we've got an iffy main, and we're going to put more pressure on it. That leads to a little bit of uncertainty. Stormwater, really not a lot to say there. Not a lot of stormwater collection within that segment. Most of that water flows to the south towards Willow Street. There's some inlets down there. It's 40 to 50 years old. We believe it's probably in pretty fair condition, no known issues, other than there's just a limited number of inlets, meaning the water's got to kind of flow quite a ways in the street before we capture that. Ultimately, that water is discharged to the Sherrill Avenue Regional Treatment Basin. The street, pretty low volume street. Right now it's a 40-foot wide urban section street, curb and gutter, on-street parking both sides. Street's not in great condition. Certainly areas of it can be classified as poor. The usual things with cracking and potholes and things like that. Really not too certain on the age, but it's definitely getting up there. Sidewalk, there was a sidewalk that was installed somewhere around 2011, I believe, on just the east side of the street. It is in fair condition, but it does not meet current ADA standards. So what we're planning to do in the way of sanitary sewer, we are recommending that we replace all of the sanitary sewer, even that existing PVC, certainly the VCP pipe, replace all that with PVC mains and precast concrete manholes. Part of the driving factor, again, on that PVC pipe that's in fair condition, the challenge is it's still 40, 50 years old. We go put a new street over the top of it, we're left with a 40 to 50-year-old utility underneath it that in all likelihood will fail before we reach the end of the useful life of the street. So we'd be prematurely having to dig up a new roadway. So replacing it sort of gets everything kind of back in line. We would replace the service laterals, 4-inch PVC with cleanouts at the edge of the right-of-way. Again, we just replaced those service laterals from the main to the edge of the right-of-way only, and property owners need to complete further replacement up to their homes if needed. That's completely up to the property owner if they want to do that. Water main, we'll replace that failing trunk line with a 12-inch PVC main, new hydrants, new valves, things like that. Same thing with service laterals. We'll run 1-inch poly service laterals out to the edge of the right-of-way and install a new curb stop. Any further replacement would have to be done by the property owners. Storm sewer improvements, again, real minimal on this. We'll just replace as needed to facilitate the other improvements. And we may run some inlets further up the street a little bit just to collect that water a little bit sooner rather than having it run all the way down towards Willow Street. Street, not a lot of change that we're proposing. Very similar section, 40-foot wide, bituminous surface, curb and gutter. The sidewalk, a slight change. We do plan to keep a sidewalk on the current side, on that east side, but we are proposing to add a 5-foot turf boulevard between the sidewalk and the street. Right now, it's right behind the curb and gutter. We tend to like to get those turf boulevard in if we can. That also provides an opportunity for us to plant some boulevard trees, do a little beautification with that. Just a quick snapshot of some of the improvements. Pretty hard to see the detail, I understand, but it gives you a little bit of a view of it. On to the project costs. We're looking at a project cost of just over $1.5 million. The bulk of that cost is in the street improvement at just over $500,000. The rest of it being tied up for the most part in underground utilities. I should note, anybody that's interested in this, you don't need to feverishly write this stuff down. Carrie's got this presentation on the city's website, so you can access that anytime. So at 1.5 million, now we'll cover how do we pay for that project. In this case, it's really a combination of city utility funds and general tax levy money, so in other words, city dollars, in combination with special assessments to the adjacent property owners. All of that is done in accordance with the city's special assessment policy. In this case, the way that plays out is the city utility funds assume 100% of the sanitary sewer and water main replacement costs, so there is no cost to property owners for the replacement of the sewer and water mains. It's a somewhat recent change to the policy where that used to be assessed. On the other hand, service laterals are 100% assessed to the benefiting properties. On the street side of things, street reconstruction, we assess 50% of the standard street cost. A standard street is considered a 36-foot wide, 5-ton design with a bituminous surface. So anything over than that, anything that's built heavier or built wider, that goes onto the city side of the ledger and is not passed through in the way of special assessment. Sidewalk, similar, it's 25% to residential properties, 50% to commercial. I think it's all residential in this case. And then finally, the city does pay 100% of the costs related to storm sewer or any streetscaping that we might do. So that being said, this is what that looks like when it's all tabulated. So out of the 1.5 million, about 500,000 is being assessed to the adjacent property owners, with the city picking up a little bit over $1 million. So it's about a third and 2/3, I should say. So now we've got that $500,000 that's being assessed. Again, we go back to how do we then allocate or spread that out against the properties that are benefiting from the project. The city's assessment policy lays that out. In general, each of those costs that were up there, those categories are divided by assessable units. Usually it's frontage, in some cases by each, to determine a rate. So much per foot or so much each. When we look at footage, this is how we calculate it. If you have a rectangular interior lot, which is probably the bulk of them on this project, it's the dimension of that side abutting the improvement or the nominal width of your lot. That's your assessable footage. We tend to include any intersecting streets or alleys when we make that calculation, and then ultimately that footage falls over to the city side of the ledger. If you're a corner lot, it's the dimension of your smaller side. If you're abutting the improvement on both sides, it's the smaller side plus half the dimension of that longer side, up to 150 feet, plus any distance over that 150 on that side lot. But you're only assessed for those sides that are abutting the improvement. If there's an irregular shaped lot, and we occasionally run across pie-shaped lots and things like that, we usually try to assign an average dimension to those. Service laterals, like I mentioned, those are done on an each basis, so we look at the total cost of all the water services and divide it by the number of services we're putting in to generate a cost per each. And the table that's on the screen now is the end result of all this. So for the street, we're looking at an assessment of about $123 a foot. Sidewalk, about $14 a foot. No charge for the sanitary sewer, about $44,000 for each sanitary sewer service. No charge for the water main replacement, and about $5,500 for each water service. And again, no charge for the storm sewer. So what that all kind of leads to is a typical 50-foot lot is going to be looking at a special assessment of about $16,000. 75-foot lot, just under $20,000. A 100-foot lot is about $23,000. What we will probably end up doing is, if the project moves forward, is finish design, receive the bids. After the bids are received, we would call for an assessment hearing. At that time, probably going to be around the April timeframe, and we will send notices to each of the properties that are impacted with an actual assessment calculation based on those as-bid prices. And then ultimately, those assessments would be levied to those properties starting in 2027. Generally speaking, we assess those over a 20-year term. Property owners can make a decision to prepay all or a portion of those assessments to either eliminate or reduce interest charges, just like with any loan. I already touched on the schedule a little bit, but just a reminder here, I guess, we'd be looking at trying to maybe bid the project in somewhere in that March timeframe with an assessment hearing in April or May, construction this summer, and then point out that we'd probably have some final, very minor construction in the spring of '27 that would probably be limited to just the final lift of pavement. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that has any questions or wishes to make any comments this evening about the project? Gary, if you don't mind coming up to the podium and give us your name and address for our minutes, please. And then we'll hear you out. Yeah.
Well, thank you for this. Appreciate it. Gary Hager, 1126 Rossman Avenue, 75 feet of frontage. Question, what is the interest rate then that's going to be assessed? Is that kind of determined or not yet for the?
I'm going to call on our finance officer, Heidi.
Yes, we don't know the rate yet. It depends on if we're going to borrow for the project, but generally the rate is set in our special assessment policy as 2% over the cost of our borrowing cost, or over the percentage that we get, and then rounded to the nearest 1/4%.
Okay. Okay. So an example would be what recently happened to another street nearby. What was the rate at that time?
Recent assessments have been about 5 or 5.5%.
Okay. Will there be any improvement to our approaches on the for the driveways? Will that be anything going on, or is that going to stay as is?
No,
John?
the curb and gutter will be removed along with the approach aprons. Those will also be removed and replaced. So it is a very full street utility reconstruction.
Okay. Where will we be parking, or how does that all work during this whole process?
Sure. No, and we will, prior to getting into construction, our general habit or procedure is we'll try to get a pre-construction newsletter out to everybody with that sort of information along with contacts and things like that, just so there will be more than what we're talking about. But to answer your question, for the most part, we get you in and out of your driveways the vast majority of the time. Obviously, when there's active work, there's going to be periods where we can't get you in, can't get you out. And then there's going to be some shorter periods where, for several days, we may not be able to, i.e. when we pour curb, when we pour those concrete driveway approaches, we may have, around a week that we can't get you in, but we try to let residents park on the street in front. So, by and large, it's not awful, but there are some periods, and we'll communicate that with you.
All right. I think that's it. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks, Gary.
Yep.
Is there anyone else in the audience?
So did you guys find similar?
Sir, could you give us your name?
Alan Hagan, 1141
Thank you.
Rossman. Did you guys find similar bolt situations on Willow when that was done?
I have not. Truth be told, that's the first time I've seen bolts like you saw in that picture where they're completely and totally deteriorated
I talked
all the
to
way
some of-
through.
Some of the guys that were doing the digging and the test ones you did afterwards, right?
Yeah, we
Reynolds.
went looking for some of this after we found these on a break. We did sort of some confirmation before we decided to look at spending $1.5 million. We wanted to see if we could repeat the results, and we found the exact same thing in another hole. We actually did one more, what I would say, up the hill past Reynolds to see if it's continued or if once we got out of groundwater, if conditions changed. The hole bolt that you saw was the one from north of Reynolds as we started to get out of the groundwater. So we're still not entirely certain what's driving this, but we do know we have bolts that are not doing their job.
And as old as the line is, there's no liability for the past contractor.
No, correct.
And what's the ADA on the sidewalk?
On the sidewalk, ADA refers to American Disabilities Act.
And
So
that's already changed since 2011?
that's changed over and over again to where it's at right now. And
Seems
there
like
are,
such a waste to throw that sidewalk away.
yeah,
It's
and
done so recently.
it was done, I would agree. It was done fairly recently when you consider what we normally would replace a sidewalk. The challenge becomes when we have to replace the curb and gutter next to it or the street next to it. It's tough to save that or that sidewalk. And then furthermore, when we run in those service laterals to the properties, we run those through that sidewalk. So at best, you can sort of save, a 40-foot chunk and then you're going to take out a 30 and save a 40-foot chunk and take out a 30. And so it ends up being a bit of a hopscotch thing. So there's just really not a real practical way to save it.
And now with a 5-foot boulevard, I'm sure I'm gonna lose 2 trees. Does the city pick up the tab for moving away the trees and all that, if it comes to that?
If it comes to that and there's trees that have to be removed that are within the city, well, caused by the project in general, whether they're in the city right of way or not, we will pay that cost. That's part of the project cost, is to remove those trees. If they're on your property, we would need to get an easement from you to do that removal. I don't know that I'm expecting that right now, but there could be trees behind the sidewalk that are still in the right of way that need to be
What is
removed.
the right of way again? How many feet
It's 66 feet. So
from the center?
from the center, but I won't swear to you that that road is dead in the middle of the right of way either. Generally they are, but that may not be the case. But it's 66 feet in width. And in this case, the right of way does extend a bit past the back of that existing sidewalk. I think there's around 7 or 8 feet behind that sidewalk
Yeah, it's
that is
become
still
really
public
close.
right of way. So we try to avoid removing trees where we can. Sometimes it becomes inevitable that we need to remove them. If we remove them, we also try to replant some trees
Yep.
on that side, in addition to the ones that we'll put in the boulevard.
Oh. And then what is it, Gary? Where's Gary go? Was it about 2 years ago, the electrical stuff was done on the other side?
Yeah, about 2 years ago.
Any thought to burying electrical for the east side of Rossman?
I don't believe so. I'm looking at Vernell, but I don't think there's any plan to take the overhead down with this project. I think it'll remain overhead electric.
Be a lot less directional boring in the future. I mean, there's so many trees growing back in there. You guys have a heck of a time getting back in there to do any work there too. So
Sure.
when a tree falls on a line and whatnot.
Right. Yeah, I know we look at that on a case-by-case scenario with the Public Utilities General Manager, Vernell Roberts. And it's a bit case-by-case, but bearing electric is very, very expensive as well.
Yeah.
That's part of the challenge.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to ask any questions or make any comments about the project? Hearing none, that public hearing is closed, and I would entertain a motion for the resolution.
Okay, the Public Works Committee has reviewed this project and we move for the resolution authorizing the preparation of plans and specifications for the Rossman Avenue Street Utility Project. Can I so move?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution authorizing the preparation of plans and specs for the Rossman Avenue Street and utility improvements. Discussion of the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, the motion carries. Without objection, Pat Peterman is here from the Boys and Girls Club, and he wishes to address the council briefly.
Pat Peterman, Boys and Girls Club, Detroit Lakes. Thank you, Mayor, City Council, City Administrators. Yes, I just want a couple minutes to talk about some milestones that are happening with us this year. As I was driving over here tonight, I realized next year we'll be in our 70th year as a Boys and Girls Club, the oldest in the state. So we'll be celebrating that. But we got other celebration. In February, on February 21st, we have our 30th annual Polar Fest Plunge. And one of you sitting up there tonight were the original jumpers. And earlier today, I looked in our conference room and I found the original plaque to that, and Ron Zeman's right up there. The 30 years. So Ron, I want to make a special invite to you to be a part of our VIP down on the ice, not to jump in the water.
I'll be there.
So you're welcome to come down here and be a VIP, and all of you are also invited. But I also wanted to thank the city administrators, everybody on the city that works in the departments that help us up at Lyle Crovisher Memorial Park. It was a rocking place this summer with the new playground and everything going up on the hill, and we couldn't do it without that partnership. The other piece of this Polar Fest Plunge coming up is last year we had 254 jumpers and raised $80,000. This year our goal is 300 jumpers and $100,000. If we get to 100,000, Dude Dad, if you don't know Dude Dad, is a YouTube sensation comedian, Midwestern guy, and he's got over 5 million views or followers. And we are partnering with the Historic Homes Theater to bring him in. He's signed, sealed, and delivered. It's already sold out, but we have tickets for those jumpers who meet certain levels. So if you want to see a great show at the Homes, that's also that evening. So just wanted to thank everybody for all you do for the Boys and Girls Club. We're not successful without that partnership, so thank you.
Can
All right,
you
thank
tell
you,
us
Pat.
how many dollars you've raised over the 30 years? Do you have that total?
I was going to do that today, Ron, and my bookkeeper left a little early today, so I wasn't able to, but I'll get that to you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Pat. Without objection by the council, I'd like to move up item 6B, and that would be on the Public Works agenda, Ron. Item 6B, please.
Okay, item 6B is consideration of approving the sailing school request to use the Legion Bathhouse renovating and recurring costs, all that are involved. And maybe I'm going to have Rick Larson, Jeff Schlosser, please come on up in front here. And
we'll have a group come up here, but I'm Jeff Schlossman, and part of the sailing school that we started this last year, and we needed a permanent long-term location, and an idea came up because it's the perfect size. It's similar size to the new building going up on Pelican right now of their sailing club. But they have 130 students a year. We started out our first year with 32 students. And this is Rick Larson. He's one of the instructors. We have Steve Erickson, one of the instructors here. We decided to partner with DLCCC because so many organizations are partnered with them, rather than set up our own nonprofit or partner with Pelicans Yacht Club and Sailing School. But we're really excited about the location. Is perfect. The size of the building is perfect for us. We're going to orientate the building towards the lake as far as putting windows on the front, and it'll be a classroom with some restrooms and some storage space for the stackable sailboats that we used this last season. But do you have any comments, Rick?
No, my name is Rick Larson. We're going to use the building, but we'll just use the same size of the building. We're not going to expand on it or anything. We're going to put a new roof on it for added storage space, kind of make it more residential-like, and pretty much leave it as is down there for our needs. We're going to open up the whole front with glass garage doors or something so we get easy access to it. The building will act more like a pavilion for our teaching classroom and then storage for our boats and everything. So I think it'll work out really well for us. This Steve Erickson.
Steve Erickson, I really coordinated much of the sailing school this last summer, and my background is in sailing. Raced competitively in college. Also am master licensed from the Coast Guard captain and with sailing endorsement and an instructor for the American Sailing Association. So safety is a key priority for us, and really we value the experience of the kids and really ensuring that, number one, they learn safety, but number two, that they kind of learn to really handle their own and really take care of the boats themselves, take care of their teammates who they're on their boat with, and grow from there. It's a unique opportunity. This last summer, we started off with younger kids, about 7 through 12. And if you think about a 7 or an 8-year-old, rarely do they get to control something. And they're out on the water, under supervision, of course, but able to have a great deal of independence and learn.
Okay, I'd like to mention that we've had 2 meetings with this group with the Public Works, and we've gone over a lot of things. We've also have the folks from the American Legion also at that part of that meeting. Larry's sitting back there, so that everybody's on the same page. But anyway, we met with our attorney, so we've got he's going to write up a complete resolution for us to vote on. But this is basically, we're going to ask everybody here tonight to approve this, and this is what we've got written down so far. The sailing school will be a complete renovation of the old American Legion bathhouse. The sailing school will pay for all renovation expenses and costs. There will be no cost to the city of Detroit Lakes. The building will be used for the sailboat storage and also for bathrooms. This past year, the sailing school had a total of 29 students in 2025, and their goal is to have up to 150 students in the next 5 years or longer. The sailing school will like a 1-year lease with an option of 3 5-year renewals.
5-year lease, right.
5-year lease with a total of 20 years overall. So we'll start with a 5-year lease, and then every 5 years we'll go for renewal for that to go forward on. Also, the sailing school is happy with the proposed landscaping that HKGI has proposed on the beachfront. No landscaping changes will be needed. No extra expenses are proposed for the sailing school for the landscape on the Detroit Lakes. They will need 50 feet of a lakeshore for the sailing school needs at this lakeshore sailing school for lessons. And that's basically what it is, and we're asking the city council members to approve that, and then if we approve that tonight, then we'll come back with the one that we need to have signed for next meeting.
So Charlie, are we okay to approve the concept of what the lease will entail when you write it?
Yeah, I think I've got kind of the outlines of what this document is going to look like. I guess my preference would be to not approve any agreement tonight because I don't have it drafted. And so I would prefer to be able to bring it back to the council next month with an actual full agreement. And so, but I'm fine if the council wants to give some sort of assent to the concept of doing this. And I was taking notes when Alderman Zeman was talking, so I'll do my best to put it together.
Well, why don't we do that? So, Ron, why don't you make a motion that we're approving the concept of what
I'll make a motion that we're approving the concept, and we'll get the final one approved next month then.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion?
I have a quick question. I'm assuming the bathrooms are for the students and the instructors. It's not a public restroom. It's really for the sailing school?
Yeah.
Okay, just a curious question.
Any other questions tonight?
I just have a quick
Wendy?
question. And I'm pretty sure I know the answer to it, but I just want to say it out loud. So this would be a relationship much like we have with other city-owned buildings, like the library and the home center, and the school is responsible for month-to-month expenses, but we would be responsible for major repairs because we own the building, correct?
So Alderman Spry, I'll pipe in on that. I want a little bit of leeway in that I found out about this at noon today, so I haven't had a chance to really fully conceive what I'm going to do. But I think the pattern is going to be kind of like what we do with our other like nonprofit entities, like the DLCCC or the Gymnastics Club, where we have an entity operating a recreational facility within the city. And there'll be some parameters. They're going to be having to fundraise. They're going to be physically altering the building. And so just like we've done with the gymnastics club or those kind of things, that will be the outline of what I'm thinking of in the agreement, okay? It won't technically be a lease, it will be a use agreement. There are some issues with property taxation if we call it a lease. And so I'm not planning on having a lease itself, but it would be a use agreement, a management agreement, I guess is what we would characterize it as.
Further questions?
Thank you.
How soon would you be able to start improvements on the building? Or what do you think it'll?
Well, the only exciting thing is just with what we've started so far. I mean, we raised $175,000 for the sailing school, and we haven't done our fundraiser yet. So we've got some work to do, but we now will have a actual task, and we'll have the cost and everything, so we know what we're raising the money for exactly, and not just starting a school. And then that way we can have it set up for the long term. But we're confident we'll be able to raise that money. The community's been very generous already without even asking. So we expect that the fundraising will go quite well. But that's a good question, but we'll be able to get the actual cost. I mean, it's smaller than a house, you know? And the good thing is the structure from the outside appears very good. We understand it's mostly open on the inside. The ceiling height in the bathrooms is plenty high, so it doesn't necessarily need to just go away. It's just too well built. And the footprint is perfect and the location is perfect for a sailing school, given the water conditions there, the beach slope and everything. The kids were able to use the former laundromat and then walk their boats on the dollies down to the beach, and they could launch them themselves after they learned from these guys how to do it. You know, it was really fun to see them succeed and then be able to do that legally and before they could drive a jet ski on the lake. You know, it's just so much fun to see the smile on their faces when they take control of the sailboats. And once you learn to sail the little boat, you can sail any kind of sailboat. You just have to learn that sailboat nuance. It's like riding a bike. You can learn, once you can ride a bike, you're on. You're going ahead. So, but thank you so much.
I got
Okay.
one quick question.
Yes.
Is there any opposition from the American Legion?
Not at this time.
Okay.
If there are no further questions, I'm going to call the question.
Oh, there's a question from somebody in the audience.
Is there a way to make sure the traffic is stopped when the children are walking across the street?
One really nice thing about this location is when we take this in totality with the Westlake Drive improvements, that specific location is kind of a narrowing of the roadway with a crosswalk right there. So that will help us greatly. That was a sticky point this last summer for us.
All right. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries, and we'll take up the rest of it next month. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you
We've
being
got our
here.
assignment.
Yeah.
So thank
Mayor
you.
Brink, a number of people have asked a little bit about the history of how we have this nice beach. But back in the mid-60s, 1965, our city engineer, Winston Larson, came up with the idea of a mile-long city beach. In order for this new beach to be successful, the city of Detroit Lakes would have to have the control of the entire beach. Winston Larson, along with the help of City Attorney Jim Ramstad, came with an easement plan and received a deed from each property owner to have control of the beach and to do away with multiple home docks, which we had for many years. Currently, we only have 2 docks left from homes across the street on this lakefront property. The city also has received what is called a reservation of rights to have control of the city beach. This all came about because Winston Larson was looking at the long-term plan for the use of our city beach here in Detroit Lakes in its future. We as a city want our city beach to be a safe place for our residents and our visitors. Many people in Detroit Lakes do not have a lake home, but for them, they use the city beach, the mile-long beach, for their lake shore enjoyment. The same thing holds true for the many tourists and visitors that also come to enjoy the lake. As I said earlier, our engineers had the right idea of having control of the beach so that everybody could enjoy this beach on a regular basis. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you again, Jeff.
Thank you.
Without objection, I would like to jump to the Finance Committee agenda and take item 7A. Chairman Bulkey.
Thank you, Your Honor. 7A is consideration of approving the 2026 budgets and rates for the DCC. I know our golf pro Tom Dolby's here, and I'm assuming that's Mr. Foltz with him. Ooh, good, okay. If you care to step up and kind of give us a recap of 25 and what's going on with 26, that would be greatly appreciated.
Sure. My name is Tom Dolby. I'm the general manager, head pro at the golf course. I live on 1084 Timber Drive. Just finished my third year there. We're just finishing up our third year there. We've had 3 great years in a row. We've been averaging net profits around $600,000 per year for the last 3 years. You have amongst a capital plan that we have going through 2031 right now. Spells out our capital needs going forward on machinery and capital projects on the golf course. We've done close to $1 million in improvements on the golf course in the last 3 years, from equipment to capital things at the clubhouse and on the golf course. So we're very pleased and happy about that whole trajectory that we're on there. We have 2 big projects on our horizon. We need a new maintenance building desperately. We're saving for that right now. We have some set-aside funds for that. We're setting them more aside as we go forward here. That project will be somewhere between $750,000 and probably $1 million. We hope to break ground on that fall of 2027 is sort of a little bit of a dream right now, probably be 2028. And also, when at the same time that project's done, the lower level parking lot at the maintenance building will have to be redone. The parking lot at the main clubhouse is also getting in rough shape, so we may try to tie both those together at the same time. We are having that seal coated and painted this spring. Golf's been in a very good position the last 3-4 years. COVID helped golf. A lot of other factors have helped golf. But we really are pleased with the trajectory we're on at the golf course, with our improving of the equipment, the maintaining of the equipment, the facility improvements. We had a great improvement at the patio last year at the main clubhouse. Our dues and rates are well below, or below basically all our competition in the area, and the Fargo courses on top of that. A lot of golf courses have raised rates 20 to 25% the last 3-4 years. We're well below that. So DCC and Lakeview are very busy places. We had 250 kids in junior golf this year. So I'm amazed at the activity in town here with the sailing club and golf course and all that. It's just great to see. So I would welcome any questions about the golf course.
Just to paraphrase, Tom, I think earlier at Finance you said the rates increase would be anywhere from 2% to 8% based on whatever package you're looking at, correct?
Yeah, so the higher rate increases are at DCC, the lower rate increases are at Lakeview. We are really trying to keep Lakeview at a very affordable rate. DCC is a little different story. We are really trying to market that as our premier facility. We are in competition with other facilities for that tag, locally and regionally and state-wise. So we are really, trying to improve the facility and upgrade the facility. We built 2 new green additions this year. We're doing 3 more this coming year to try to really get the golf course prepared for the future. It's a unique property. It's a short golf course that was appropriate back in the 1930s and 40s. Technology has sort of passed the golf course by in a lot of ways. So we're trying to improve things in the golf course where they handle traffic better and ball marks better and stuff like that. But the biggest part of our dues increase is just to accommodate some increased expenses with labor and benefits and so on, so.
Okay.
I know this was discussed at Finance Committee. I'm going to kind of echo Ron's comment of it's amazing what you've done out there in 3 years. Not only you, but groundskeeper and everything else to be on the up and up, so we greatly appreciate that. This was discussed at Finance. It was a unanimous decision to move this forward, and I so move.
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the 2026 budget and rates for the Detroit Country Club. And I would just want to say, Tom, that was some really good information. Thank you.
Thanks. I do want to recognize my superintendent, Zach Foltz. He came on board with me. I had the privilege to hire him, and he's one of the best hires of my life, and just done a great job there. So, a local boy, done good, so very proud of him, so.
Good.
I just want to make a quick comment.
Go ahead, Aaron.
These guys have done a phenomenal job, Thank you.
Any
Thanks.
further comments? All in favor of the,
They're gonna have a big project coming up with a new building, which they've been needing for over 20 years, but they finally now have, because of Tom and his crew, they have the money now to afford to pay for it.
Yes, so we're excited about it, so.
we better approve those rates, huh? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming, guys. The Detroit Lake City Council has adopted a rules of decorum for public participation in city council meetings. And I just want to mention, we do have two people that signed up to speak this evening, but I just want to mention a couple points of emphasis in those rules. When you're going to speak, if you would come to the podium, give us your name and address and the subject of your comments. Direct all your comments to me as the chairman and presiding officer. And I'm not going to allow any comments regarding city employees or city council members. Any requests for any action will be referred to city staff or assigned to an appropriate council committee for future consideration. And there will be no dialogue between commenters and city staff or city council. So with that, I have two people that have signed up. The first of which is Pam. Pam, do you wish to come forward?
My name is Pam Wimmer Benedict. I am at 1217 Westlake Drive in DL. I can want to say that I love this city council, and that is amen. But I do feel like we need to I'm still purporting that we fly the flag, the Minnesota state flag. It occurred to me, though, that in a stressful meeting, that it was the mayor who made the decision not to fly the flag. So I don't know how that is rectified. And I'm hoping that the city council will take it up and will fly the Minnesota state flag. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. And of course, you had to remind everybody about that vote.
Yes, she did.
Also, tonight, Brian is here, and Brian would like to speak as well.
Brian Alstein, 1041 Timber Drive. Thank you for the opportunity of the open mic. It's much appreciated. First, I would like to thank you for your vote on not flying the new Minnesota fraud flag. It has become a symbol of the endless pit of fraud that we are discovering seemingly on a daily basis in Minneapolis and lies squarely at the feet of our legislature in St. Paul. So thank you for not flying that flag. Second, and the real reason I'm here, I wanted to bring my tax statement from 2026, but I couldn't find it. I think I threw it away when I saw it because I was shocked by the 11% increase from 25 to 26. And after I did a little research, I found I have something to be thankful for because a lot of citizens across the state are in a worse position than that. I'm also thankful that I can pay my taxes. I feel bad for a lot of citizens who are going to reel under the tax burden that we're seeing now. And from what I gather, it could be worse and maybe much worse in coming years. I want to state that I don't hold the city council or the mayor responsible for that. I understand that we have two reasons we have a terrible tax problem in this state. One is the unending spending that our legislature has done in the past few years without limit. The other is that level of fraud that's being encountered, and we don't know how much that is, how far it's going to go. I've seen some estimates up to $19 billion. We are saddled with that burden as taxpayers, and you are saddled with that burden as people running a city. And I know that burden is being pushed down to you from the state level. I believe that's the case. If it's not, I'm open to correction on that. I have a letter written January 5th from a group of mayors in Minnesota
So Tom, you're
241.
you're not going to read that whole letter, are you?
No, but I'd like to read a couple sentences. Our residents deserve better than deficits, economic decline, and policies that push families and businesses away. Our state owes it to our citizens to practice responsible fiscal management and to stop taxing our families, seniors, and businesses out of Minnesota. We urge the legislature to course correct and to remember that every dollar you manage belongs to the capital, not to the capital, but to the people of Minnesota. I've noticed that many communities in this area have signed it, but Detroit Lakes is missing. And I'd respectfully like to ask if you were presented the opportunity to sign this letter, and if so, your rationale in not signing it. And part B is, I'd like to know the plan of the city council and the mayor to push back on St. Paul against this awful burden that we're all bearing right now. Thank you.
Okay, well, Tom, as I mentioned, when I highlighted some of the rules, we're not going to get into answering questions this evening. I was aware of the letter, so. And the other thing I want to mention, if you didn't get a property tax or an assessed value increase on your city portion of your taxes, your tax rate would actually have gone down a little bit in the city of Detroit Lakes, so. All right, we're back to the regular agenda, and at this time, I'll adjourn the regular meeting and call to order a public hearing to receive public comments on the issuance of an intoxicating liquor license and Sunday license to Detroit Lakefront Lodge LLC. And I don't believe there's anyone here from the Front Lodge, so I will ask if there is any questions or comments regarding that public hearing. And if not, that public hearing's closed, and I would call on Alderman Stearns.
Yes, we have item 4A1, which is the consideration to approving the issuance of an intoxicating liquor license and a Sunday license to Detroit Lakefront Lodge LLC at 1200 East Shore Drive pursuant to their application and fees. Liquor and Gambling Control Committee discussed. We recommend approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the issuance of a intoxicating liquor license and a Sunday license to Detroit Lakefront Lodge at 1200 East Shore Drive. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We are to the Public Works Committee agenda. Chairman Zeman.
Okay, the first item is item A, and I know we have talked about this before, but tonight we're going to talk about a discussion related to the replacement of the Westlake Drive boat landing with proposed beachfront improvements. And after we've had many discussions about this, but with all the landscape work we do with HKGI, this is a time now that we can expand our public beach down there with more land for people to use when they come and visit our town. But we're just wondering, what are the, after seeing all the improvements we're gonna do, the DNR, they've asked us, how come we're gonna keep that launch there? Because we just built you a brand-new boat launch, next to the Holiday Inn. And so, right now, I'd like to have comments from our city council member. What do you think we should, what's your feelings? Do you think we should keep it where we're at it with improvements? Or do you think we should move it out of there since we have two beautiful new launches, one over in South Shore and one over by the Holiday Inn? So what are your feelings?
So I think the discussion yesterday was we were going to kind of take a straw vote here this evening
Take a straw vote.
and see who wants to keep the landing versus who does not want to keep the landing, and that will give our city engineer and the designers time to either move forward with the existing plan or to come up with some alternatives for that location. So,
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure,
And I'm just gonna
absolutely.
embarrass myself, so
Yep.
don't lose respect for me. We have the boat launch over by,
Wendy, use your mic a little closer, will you?
which bout launch are we talking about? The one in front of
By Rossman.
Lakeside, or the one
One in Rossman, the one we've had down there.
Rossman.
Rossman over
Yep.
by the fairgrounds? Okay, that's the one we're discussing.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So if anyone has any comments, we can certainly listen to those. Otherwise, I'm going to just take a straw vote and we'll see how it comes out.
Mayor, if it'd be helpful, John could put up the drawing quick so you'd see what that proposed
Sure,
Rossman boat launch is.
Ron, what did you say the cost was going to be the cost difference would be without that?
If we do it ourselves, the improvement's about $110,000 is what the cost came. We asked Becker County if they would help us in on it, but they said they would not, so the total cost would be on the city then.
Thank you.
Mayor, if
Now, to be fair, if we don't do the launch, we would probably do some other improvements to that location, so there would be probably some offsetting costs, correct?
Yeah, and one thing that's going to add to that, item 6C is approving a revised cooperative agreement with Becker County. So that was a little bit of the catalyst for this conversation, because the cooperative agreement that the council approved previously had the cost of the boat landing split between the city and the county. The county has opted not to participate in the cost for the boat landing. So the new cooperative agreement will be 100% of whatever improvements are made there, boat landing or what have you, will be paid by the city. So a little bit of background.
Any further questions? Otherwise, I'm just gonna do a straw vote.
Question about the boat landing at the Holiday Inn, the old one, is that designated for non-motorized, or is it still open to whatever?
I think we put signs that made it official, mayor and council, that it's non-motorized. And then we have some plans working with the DNR to put a new dock system out there for shoreland fishing.
Okay.
So those are in the works.
So right now, we have South Shore on Little Detroit and North Shore on Big Detroit. And,
Both on Big Detroit.
They're both on Big Detroit.
Yeah, both big.
okay.
South Shore's on
Yeah.
Big Detroit, yeah.
And I think that's an important distinction in the fact that there is no access, boat landing access on Little Detroit. And I lived just off of Westlake Drive for 15 years before my current house, and we commonly use that access on Westlake Drive. And so I think it's important that there is access on Little Detroit. I also think it's important for the users of Legion Campground, since they are not allowed to keep their boats overnight on the beach. If we took that away, that could create additional traffic flow on a daily basis and nightly basis for people launching their boat from the users from the Legion Campground, launching their boat and picking it back up at the end of the day. So I think there might be some traffic safety concerns as you go through Westlake Drive in Washington, et cetera, which I've done many times. So, and I think for the viability of Legion Campground, I think it's an important asset.
Okay, any further comments before I take a little
I guess,
unofficial vote here?
I guess I'm kind of 70-30 keep it, and the reason I say that is just for winter access. You know, there's a lot of people who use it for snowmobiles, use it to get on and off the lake for ice fishing. If not, we'd push everything over to J&K. Where you're having winter events out there, now you're forcing everybody to one access there. Personally, I could get on board with removing it, but I want to see what that looks like. I hate to incur financial cost to see plans of what HKGI would look like, but the last thing I want is kind of a half-baked landing that's concrete, and we've got to grow sod there into August every year and make it look, like I say, kind of a landing, kind of not. So I could get on it, but I'd love to see what the landscape architect would propose there.
And what's on the screen is a rendition of that, or an example of that, or what's on the screen?
That's what's currently being proposed.
Okay. And I guess my comment is I understand the perhaps the need for it on Little Detroit, and if it's safe, if it's safe for people walking on the beach, if it's safe for the traffic flow, that would be my main concern, is making sure we can, it can be a safe place for all the types of people who use that area, walkers, people on the beach, and those that are putting their boats or whatever they're putting in their pontoons, whatever.
Okay, so
Well, currently, right now, we're talking about winter. We're halfway through January, and right now, I'm down there at the lake quite a bit. People with snowmobiles, fish houses, they're all down by J&K. They haven't had a chance to use anything up by the old dock, and we're soon going to be through the end of January here, and we'll have poles and holes for fishing. That would be the big opportunity for 2 days when we have the poles and holes fishing. But it's, there again, you know, it's money spent for that, but the big thing for us right now, we're gonna increase the bike lanes and walking lanes when we complete Phase 3 of Westlake Drive. We're gonna have a lot of bikes going, and I'm saying when we get up here to where this launch is, you got people coming in, coming out of the boat launch. I just think it's a safety factor with people riding bikes, walking. You still have people backing out. And the other thing right now is gonna be traffic. Remember, next year, we're gonna lose that whole one side of parking space on Westlake Drive forever, and those people are gonna have to find a place to park. So maybe where those boats have been put in their, in the fairgrounds, it might be that they're gonna need the fairgrounds to park their cars. So I just think there's a lot of issues there. But most of all, we're gonna have a chance to improve our Marlong Beach to be even more special than what it is just being a beach.
Okay, those who want to keep the landing, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I guess we're going to keep the landing.
Okay.
So let's move on, Ron.
All right, let's go on here to, I'll go to item C here, consideration of approving a revised cooperative agreement with Becker County concerning the Westlake Drive Phase 3 beach improvement. And I'm gonna call on John.
Mayor and Council, I think Mr. Clem already outlined this fairly well. You had adopted the draft of the cooperative agreement, I think back in December or November, and that was forwarded to the county board for consideration. They've adopted it with the one change being that they would participate in the cost of the boat launch as proposed. So they've adopted it with that condition, so we've revised the agreement and are bringing it back to you tonight for approval.
Okay, so the committee's reviewed this, and we go ahead to revise the cooperative agreement without the Becker County support of $55,000, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a revised cooperative agreement with Becker County regarding the Westlake Drive Phase 3 and beach improvements. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item D, consideration to setting a facilities plan for a public hearing for a proposed north side utility and street improvement for the February 10th meeting at 5 PM. I'm going to call on John Pratt for an update on that.
Mayor and Council, a number of months ago, the council authorized the preparation of the preliminary engineering report and the facilities plan for that proposed north side project. Part of the requirement for submitting the facilities plan to the state for review and approvals that we have a public hearing specific to that before we submit that. So we're just setting a time and date for that hearing.
Okay, the committee has reviewed this, and we so move to go ahead with this study, and it'll take up 28 blocks, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to set a facilities plan public hearing for the proposed north side utility street improvements for the next city council meeting on February 10th. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next item is item E, consideration of resolution approving plans and specs and authorizing an advertisement for bids in a proposed 270th Avenue utility street improvements. And John, I'll call on you again.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. This is just the next step in the process related to the proposed improvements on 270th Avenue. It was a number of months ago that the council authorized design on that. I think it was actually back late summer. We've completed that design and are getting prepared to advertise for bids. So we're asking for your approval of those plans and authorization to bid.
Okay, the committee recommends, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt a resolution approving plans and specifications and authorizing advertisement for bids for the proposed 270th Avenue utility and street improvements. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item F, consideration to approving the final payment for the Public Works facilities. I'm going to call, do you want to take this, Kelsey, or? Okay.
Mayor and council, the city's still holding a small retainage back on the Public Works facility on really at this point are some warranty items. Those painting touch-ups were actually supposed to have been done last week. They didn't get done, but it sounds like we're going to have them done fairly soon. So the recommendation would be to approve the final payment, of course, contingent upon those final corrections getting done. So I would sit on the payment until they get it done, but looking for council approval.
Okay, so the committee's reviewed this, and we'll go ahead and approve this. Bill Oskowski said he'll hang on to money until that final painting is done, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the final payment for the Public Works facility. Discussion?
The one question I have on this, Mr. Clem, is I know there was delayed quite a while for our city staff to move in there due to construction slowdown. Did we receive any credits or anything due to that?
You're testing my memory. I don't think we did any liquidated damages. I'm trying to remember how delayed we were, because part of it was when the actual project completion date was done, because they were a little bit ahead of schedule, and it was, I think part of it was we were hoping to move in earlier, and we weren't able to move in earlier, and then it got delayed, and I'm trying to remember the reasons for the delays. But I don't believe there was any liquidated damages actually assessed to the project.
If you could just double check your notes before you send that final payment, that'd be appreciated.
Sure.
Thank you.
Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay, next item is G, consideration of memo from the Public Works Director requesting for the approval of the purchase of a skid steer attachment. I'm going to call on Sean King to update us on that.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is for a Harley rake. It's an attachment that goes on our skid steer. We do not have skid steer attachments on our CIP. We only have the larger equipment, pickups, trucks, motor graders and stuff like that. So these are not budgeted, but we do have money to purchase it, and that's what I'm asking for tonight.
Okay, and this isn't a budget item, but Sean does have money in his funds to take care of it, so I go ahead and move that we approve this purchase.
I would second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the purchase of a skid steer attachment for the Public Works Department. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
The final item is acceptance of the city engineering report. John?
Mayor and council, pretty short this evening. Most of these projects are in suspension. Just a quick couple of updates. We talked about Westlake Drive and the beach improvements. Both of those are advertising for bids right now, and plans have been issued. We'll be opening the bids for the Westlake Drive project on January 22nd, which should be next Thursday. And then a bit later on February 2nd, we would open the bids for the beach project. So all things go to plan. We'd be bringing both of those bids to the February meeting for consideration. The DMRA Legacy Grant project, things kind of got pretty well wrapped up there. There's just a little bit of work left to do. Some of it'll spill just into a few days of work in the spring, but by and large, the parking lot, the Nordic Trail, snowmaking, lighting, bike trails, and the treehouse most recently have all been pretty well completed. We touched on 270th already. And Rossman we've talked about. I did accidentally omit a project, the North Side project is on the map but not on the table. But we are continuing to work with some preliminary project development on that with the facility plan and PER and things like that. And we'll have that for you at the February meeting for approval. Just a kind of a reminder, we're eyeing, I think, 2028 to build that project, but it's such a large project that we need to get ahead of that, also based on some of the funding that we're hoping to pursue. So that's it, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We should approve that, Ron.
Okay, and I make a motion that we do approve John's monthly engineering report. I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the city engineer's monthly project status report. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And I believe that is it for the Public Works, and we'll move to the Balance of the Finance Committee agenda, Chairman Bulky.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item 7B is consideration of approving a sponsorship agreement with Essentia Health for Washington Ballpark. Mr. Clem, anything to add?
Mayor and council, nothing really to add. As you know, the fundraising committee's been working on trying to raise funds for the Washington Park project. This is kind of the big advertising opportunity that we had spelled out for the fundraising committee is basically the field and around the stadium advertisement rights. So Essentia Health has stepped forward to do that. The payments are spread out over 10 years, but the length of the agreement is actually for 20 years for the total amount of $790,000. The exhibits basically show the proposed advertising locations that they would receive in lieu of that payment.
Okay.
Thank you. This was discussed at Finance Committee this afternoon. It did pass with a 3-to-1 vote. With that being said, I would so move.
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a sponsorship agreement with Essentia Health for the Washington Ballpark. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We had one
nay.
opposed, okay.
Item 7C is consideration of approving a union contract with MPEA for 26 through 28. This is the police sergeants. There are 2 of them. This does seem pretty boilerplate and very in line with the other union contracts we've already signed. Anything to add?
That's pretty good. It's similar terms to the 2 agreements that were approved last month.
Okay, this was discussed at Finance with a unanimous decision, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the union contract with MPEA for the years 2026 through 2028. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all, Your Honor.
Thank you. Aaron, I don't see anything on the public safety, anything?
Nothing on there, Your
Okay,
Honor.
right. And the liquor gambling control?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Okay. And you don't have anything to bring forth from the public utilities, do you?
Your Honor.
Okay. We do have item 11B, which is removed from the consent agenda, and I would call on Alderman Stearns. Oh, no, I don't want to call on you. You want to recuse yourself. Sorry about that. So I would entertain a motion for approval of licenses for the period of January 1st, 2026 through December 31st.
I so move.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstained is Alderman Stearns. Motion carries. I'm going to move item 12A to the end of the meeting. I would like to recommend the name of Janelle Disrud to serve the vacated seat of Anna on the Arts and Culture Commission. I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve Janelle Disrud to the Arts and Culture Commission. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And I would call on Alderwoman Spry for item 12C.
Item C is consideration to a resolution supporting a new state-sponsored passenger rail service between St. Paul, Minnesota and Fargo, North Dakota. Our understanding, we kind of talked about this yesterday at our committee meeting, CDC. Amtrak is requesting our resolution in support of seeking out some federal funding to support a second track that would provide daily travel back and forth between Fargo and the Twin Cities, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution supporting a new state-sponsored passenger rail service between St. Paul and Fargo. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
It's a second.
The motion carries. I would like to recommend the reappointment of Emma Toom to the Arts and Culture Commission.
So
I would
moved.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to reappoint Emma Toom to another term on the Arts and Culture Commission. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I'm still waiting for an answer from Mark Jensen, so I don't have a recommendation tonight. I would like to recommend the reappointment of Amy Stearns to the Arts and Culture Commission.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded to reappoint Amy to the Arts and Culture Commission. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And I'm still waiting to hear back also from Alex regarding the park board and from Jackie regarding the park board. And we hope to have those for the council in the February meeting. I would like to recommend the reappointment of Helen Foltz to the Public Utilities Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to reappoint Helen Foltz to the Public Utilities Commission. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Couple of announcements. The Elected Leaders Institute with the League of Minnesota Cities is in February. And Carrie or Kelsey, do you want to just explain to the council what that involves briefly?
Well, I've never gone,
Okay,
Mayor, but,
so I've stumped you.
but I imagine it's a great learning opportunity for those who been elected to office, and whether you're new or experienced, there's different classes for you. So
Okay.
let Carrie know if you want to go.
Very good.
When is it?
February.
Different dates and
Oh, there are
locations.
options? Okay.
Also, the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities Legislative Action Day is at the Minnesota State Capitol, and that's on March 25th. If you're interested in attending, also please let Carrie know. The League of Minnesota Cities Day on the Hill is March 11th. Again, if you're interested, please let Carrie know. The balance of the 2026 joint governance meeting dates are listed, as well as the 2026 city council meeting dates. And I'm going to try to do a State of the City address. I had this procedure done in my throat, and I think it's worse than ever. But anyway, is there anything else? Jade, do you have anything further
I'm good,
tonight?
thanks.
Sean?
Nope. There are.
Jackie?
No.
Ron?
None, Your Honor.
Wendy?
Is this our usual end of meeting comment period?
I think it would be, because then I'm going to do the State of the City, and then everybody will be asleep.
Okay, all right. Last couple of days, I've been receiving texts, Facebook messengers, emails from citizens wondering, a little concerned about having immigration and customs enforcement agents in our community and whether the city would be making a statement. I kind of misunderstood the request at first as though it was a positional statement, but what I found out is it was a question about Bemidji Police Chief had put something on Facebook, and it was really about, we know they're here, we know the officers are here. It kind of talked about the roles of what the agents are and what your local police or county law enforcement, kind of what their roles are. Reminders that protests, if you choose to engage, be peaceful, and that we be safe, and that, I think there was something about police officer roles around assessing maybe protest for safety, you know, checking that, making sure everything's going the way we want it to, and the roles. Anyway, I read it, I found it on Facebook myself, and it answered some questions that I had. And I thought it might, you know, I'm not asking for any action, that's not the point of my bringing it up. It's just, it answered some questions for me about what about all the roles are and how to engage. And given the amount of questions I've been asked, I would totally be in support of us doing something like that, just as a reminder to people what, you know, be safe. If you want to use your voice, do so in a safe and respectful manner and understand whose roles are what. That the agents are doing their job as they're directed, and law enforcement is here for our public safety. So I just wanted to share that information with everybody.
All right, thank you. Aaron, anything?
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Okay, Craig?
Just this summer, I had the opportunity to watch the sailing school a couple different times, and it was really fun to watch the kids out on the water, and I'm excited for their future. I think that that was a good move to do the Legion bathhouse. And
Sure.
that to use too.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's what we do.
So I did shorten up my remarks this evening because of the state of my voice. However, I would emphasize that all of the department year-end reports are in the agenda, and you can click on those reports. And you can also access it on our city website if you're interested as a citizen. So I'll try to make it through this evening, and to the city council, city staff, and the citizens of Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, it's an honor to deliver this evening the annual State of the City Address for the year 2025. 2025 was another good year in the city of Detroit Lakes, and as I've said so many times in the past, we continue to be an excellent place to live, to work, and to visit. While much was accomplished this past year in many areas, 2025 was a year of extensive planning and design work for some very significant major projects slated to begin construction this year. Those projects are Westlake Drive Phase 3, the new Detroit Lakes Pavilion Project, the City Beach Improvement Project, the City Park Improvement Project, and the Washington Ballpark Project. These projects total over $33 million, most of which is being funded without property taxes. Although 2026 will be, challenging and at times an inconvenient year, I think we can all agree that Detroit Lakes is moving into a new era of history, which will provide more efficient utilization of our facilities and create new economic and recreational opportunities for our citizens and visitors. Detroit Lakes remains fiscally sound, even though we receive a relatively low level of local government aid. We've lost millions of dollars over the past 20 years in LGA revenue that the city has had to make up locally. Despite these challenges, we continue to enjoy one of the lowest tax rates in the region compared to our peer cities. And our city tax rate is significantly lower than the average city rate for all greater Minnesota cities of similar population. Detroit Lakes is fortunate to have revenue funds that effectively reduce property taxes. Transferred to the general fund from the city electric utility will be $681,000 for 2026. The municipal liquor store will transfer $690,000 to the general fund for 2026. In addition, the city's food and beverage tax is projected to total approximately $580,000 this past year. And without these funding sources contributing to expenditures, property taxes in Detroit Lakes would have to increase by about 22%. On April 1st, 2025, the new local 1/2 cent sales tax began collections, and this new revenue stream will fund the new pavilion and some of the city park and beach improvements. This local option sales tax is scheduled to generate over $17 million and will be sunsetting in 12 years or less. Our municipal liquor store had sales of $9.4 million in 2025. And in addition to buying down the city property tax rate, funds from the municipal liquor store have been used over the years to fund numerous civic projects and activities. City finance staff presented the final budget and levy to the city council in December, proposing a 6.46% increase in the city's property tax levy. Despite the increase in the levy, the city's property values grew overall by about 6.5%, which increased our overall tax capacity. The result is that a residential property that did not receive an increase in assessed value would see a slight decline in the city portion of their tax bill. In addition to our internal financial picture, Detroit Lakes has a long history of stewardship by local and regional individuals and businesses that have helped fund the creation and maintenance of numerous city-owned and non-owned facilities. This past year, our citizens and businesses again stepped up with donations, allowing the city to move forward with Phase 1 of the Washington Ballpark project, which is scheduled to start early this year. Detroit Lakes had a strong construction year in 2025 with building permits issued for almost $53 million in value. Although housing starts declined due to higher interest rates and high construction costs, commercial and multifamily building permits were the highest since 2018. And while residential housing was down this past year, it should be noted that in the past 12 years, 421 new homes have been built in Detroit Lakes. Some bullet point 2025 projects of note: the Heartland Trail from Detroit Lakes to Frazee was completed in 2025 and is now open and in use. The city received a MnDOT grant of almost $400,000 to construct the Heartland Trail trailhead located by the Country Inn and Suites. The bid for the Washington Ballpark was awarded with construction scheduled to begin early this year. Some significant improvements were made to the Detroit Mountain Recreation Area, including parking lots, mountain bike trails, the Tree House, and the Nordic Ski Trail. The Minnesota Flyers building expansion project began in 2025 with the $4.2 million project, roughly doubling the size of the current facility. Bids for the library rehab project are expected to be taken early this year, with construction occurring this summer. Several projects at the airport were wrapped up in 2025, including the new fueling system, 2 new 6-unit hangars along with the associated taxiway, and the taxi lane pavement rehab project. A new airport project is expected to begin in 2026 to reconstruct and expand the terminal aprons. This is a $2.5 million project with all but 2.5% of the cost funded with federal and state aviation grants. Since 2016, the airport has received over $28 million in federal funding and $3.3 million in state funds for various projects. Several infrastructure projects were completed last year, including Forest Street from Lake Avenue to Rossman, and the entire length of Shorewood Drive underwent full-depth reclamation and widening. A utility extension project was completed for Linview Estates, with additional street and utility work to take place this summer. Phase 1 of the Southwood Shores Estates was constructed in 2025, and these two projects will create 34 new residential lots in the city. The Detroit Lakes Development Authority assisted several business developments and housing projects in 2025. This included successfully obtaining grants for several projects in the city, approving tax increment financing for 2 large multifamily housing projects, as well as work on expansion of the city's industrial parks. This past year was again a busy year for the Detroit Lakes Police Department, responding to over 13,000 calls for service. And the Detroit Lakes Fire Department responded to 255 calls for service in the city and surrounding townships. We are certainly fortunate in Detroit Lakes to have these 2 professional and dedicated departments to protect and serve our community. In 2025, the Detroit Lakes Public Utilities experienced one of the most productive years in recent history, encountering one of the busiest construction seasons on record. Preparation was completed for the Westlake Drive Phase 3 project. Work also progressed steadily on the new 1.5 million gallon water tower this past year, with the concrete column completed and the tank structure assembled on the ground, with the exterior painting largely finished. The tower is scheduled to be raised this spring, with full project completion and demolition of the old tower planned for later this year. A major milestone in 2025 with the public utilities was the advancement of the jet substation and generation project. Demolition and site preparation began, bids were awarded, and a new generation plant contract was finalized. This project will significantly improve grid reliability, enhance local generation capacity, and provide a new revenue stream to the utility. Detroit Lakes issued almost $26 million in debt in 2025 for both the new water tower and the new electric generation project. And to issue that debt, the city had to undergo bond ratings by Fitch Ratings and Moody Ratings, resulting in AA- and AA3 respectively. These excellent bond ratings are evidence of the utility's strong financial performance, strong liquidity and debt service coverage, a growing local economy and moderate debt burden, resulting in lower interest costs and savings to the citizens and businesses in our service area. Our Public Works Department, consisting of 21 full-time and approximately 25 seasonal part-time employees, had another busy and productive year in 2025. And every year, I get dozens of compliments on how our city looks from both residents and visitors, reflecting the excellent work of our Public Works staff. Our city administration had a very busy year in 2025. In addition to handling the challenges of managing the day-to-day operations of the city functions, our city administrator and staff were also tasked with an additional heavy workload planning for the large projects slated to begin in 2026. And as I mentioned, I urge the city council and citizens to review the annual reports from the city administrator and the department heads, which are included in the packet this evening. They detail many more of the activities and accomplishments in our various departments and our advisory boards and commissions. In conclusion, 2025 was certainly a busy year in the city of Detroit Lakes, with many accomplishments and extensive planning for 2026. So as we move into the new year, I believe this coming year will be just as exciting and productive as we move into a new era of history. On behalf of the City Council, I want to thank the volunteers serving on our various advisory boards and commissions, assisting the City Council in making important decisions for the city's future. Thank you also to our city administrator, our department heads, and to all our dedicated employees for making Detroit Lakes the dynamic and beautiful city that it is. To the City Council and to Vice Mayor Zeman, thank you from all the citizens of Detroit Lakes for your service, leadership, and accomplishments this past year. And finally, to the citizens and businesses of Detroit Lakes, on behalf of the City Council, thank you for your ongoing support in helping to make Detroit Lakes the great community that it is. It is an honor to serve as your mayor, and I look forward to working with all of you in 2026. Thank you, good night, and the meeting's adjourned.